It's back to school eve, or whatever you call it, the last day of a school vacation before it's time for the kids to start going back to school. And I have a lot of things to say, and so I thought I would share them because I keep saying them over and over to individual people who don't seem to be able to help or necessarily even empathize properly. But this is important to me. So, I have two kids. The oldest just started what is secondary school here in the Netherlands. They're 12. And the younger one is 8 and in a form of special education, which is for specifically children with behavioral problems. And really, these are just ADHD, autistic kids. They're both autistic and probably both ADHD, but just my oldest has the diagnosis. Both also gifted in the sense that their IQ isn't good enough to pass the test, but they're also have a difficult time in a regular class because of the structure of not asking questions and being too interested or needing to explore and understand everything deeper than what you would normally do in school. And my oldest had some success in a gifted class last year, but now she's off to secondary school. Everything is different. And after about a month, we had a lot of issues with attendance because she couldn't do it anymore. There were too many students and too many transitions, too many subjects, too much change, too much sensory overload. And she stopped going to school so much. And we tried to work with the support team of the school and figure out how to make it easier for her. And we had plans, and plans always sounded good, but they never really worked. And so now it's February, the second semester started, everything is changing again. And all that I can see is that there's no way forward for her. They're looking at putting her into also some kind of special education, but that can't happen until next year because of, I don't know, waiting lists or something. And I'm afraid that that will still not be good enough because honestly what she needs is fully customized education. She said to me the other day, like, what's the point of going to school if you can learn literally anything from the internet? And I don't really have an answer. My own education was through gifted programs, but also when the teaching structure didn't work for me, I taught myself. Like, a lot of my education was self-taught. I mean, I didn't know at the time that I was ADHD or autistic, but like I figured out the way to teach myself. And now their solution is to say that she has to still come to school for the rest of the semester, which ends in the middle of June here, and just prove that she can go to school because otherwise the next school will probably not take her. And I cannot remove this from the imagery that we use a lot in diversity inclusion circles, and something when you can't explain to someone how invisible disabilities are being affected by lack of accommodations, you go straight to the visible ones. And they want her to go to school, but she can't go to school because it's overwhelming and annoying and too much at all times, and she doesn't even know how to behave properly because she thinks she has to pay attention all of the time, which with ADHD makes it difficult. But also, if it's too easy, then she's bored and she's angry. And if it's too hard, then she gives up and she's angry. And just every day in and out is that. And I personally don't know how to motivate anyone to spend a useless, 4 months, 5 months doing something most days on weekdays that is going to have no result. There's no point. Well, that's my more difficult one anyway. She's become nocturnal. She's done this a couple of times before when her sleep gets really bad. And we haven't really figured out what her actual circadian rhythm is, but on occasion now it ends up being nocturnal. And it's quite possible that that's some kind of avoidance method, subconscious or not. But she's nocturnal again, so I think back to school eve is meaningless for her. The littler one is 8, and he finally realized that school's too easy for him. It's been obvious for a long time, but he's gone along with it so far fairly well. Just go to school, do the things the teachers ask you to do. He's very obedient. But now it's coming up to affect him. We're trying to look for a group that he'll fit in. We wanted him to go to the school my daughter was at last year, but apparently they're not taking children in the gifted group who have diagnoses, which is possibly the worst thing I've ever heard, considering the overlap between like gifted children and children with ADHD or autism, etc., dyslexia. So I don't know how they think they're going to get any students unless they lie. But yeah, we've had a lovely vacation, not making anyone go to school, and just resting and having fun and learning things on and off, but, also enjoying our downtime. And now he remembered he has to go to school tomorrow, and he suddenly feels very sick. And I don't know if he'll get actual physical symptoms. I feel that we're coming up to that, where anxiety makes itself known through nausea and headaches. I went through that in school as well. Didn't know what it was at the time. But I don't think it's where I want my 8-year-old to be in relation to school. And I don't really have a solution. I'm a single parent who's the only person that works. So I can't homeschool, not really. And the Dutch are very anti-homeschooling anyway. So we begin the hopeless daily grind again until the next school vacation, which is about Easter. And hope that my oldest at least begins to not be nocturnal again. My youngest can just put up with being bored for a little longer. And that I can figure out something with someone. And hopefully at least find some understanding. It's really difficult with school avoidance because I want to respect my kids and their feelings and their overwhelm, especially with all of us with various amounts of struggles with autism. But I also want them to go to school. I want them to get an education. But if they can't get an education, then what's the point? And I need them to go to school because I can't be here all of the time. It's very difficult to work from home with your kids here, or at least for me it is. And it's very difficult to leave them when they're so young to try to do some work. So it's sort of paralyzing. And I don't know whether people think about this or not. When you talk about education, I could find the statistics, but this fairly large number of what they call house sitters is like truants, sitting at home students. And it's because they can't find a place in a school that works for them. And then there are parents like me who are stuck with the situation. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to get it out. But if you can't go to school to learn, then why go to school? It's a very good question. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time and energy. especially if you have so little of each. Anyway, lunch is made. Hopefully it gets taken to school tomorrow, but I don't necessarily expect that anymore. So, can't wait for Easter.